It's the boys from Minnesota back at it again. Hot takes from Nels, Tyler, Josh, and Ben. From the first batter up to the safe clinch you pitch. Get up out your seats, it's swing and a miss.
All right, welcome into another special interview episode of Swing and a Miss. We are grateful and honored to have with us today Bob DiBiasio of the Cleveland Guardians, Senior Vice President and Public Affairs. Bob, thank you so much for your time today. If you want to take a second and give a little intro into who you are and where you're coming from today, and we'll dive right into the interview.
Well, thanks, Ben. Good morning, gentlemen. I am a homegrown guy, so having the opportunity to work for my beloved hometown Cleveland baseball team has really been an incredible honor. I feel very fortunate spending 2026 is my 48th season in Major League Baseball, 47th with us. At one time, when the first ownership that I worked for, Mr. Steve O'Neill, he passed away in the early part of the 1986 season, and a consultant came in and fired like 4 or 5 of us. And so in midsummer, and I went down and was the PR chief of the Atlanta Braves in 1987. Bobby Cox was the general manager at that time. He hadn't gone back to the dugout. He had come from Toronto, where, he was phenomenal. Hall of Fame skipper, of course. And Chuck Tanner was our manager in Atlanta. And then Dick Jacobs bought the Cleveland Indians, and Hank Peters, who I knew when he was president of the Baltimore Orioles, asked if I wanted to come back home. And so I had one detour in all those years, but feel very lucky to be in this industry as long as I have.
Quite an impressive resume.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, that's for others to determine. But I've been able to fool them for nearly 50 years. 3 different ownership groups, and very lucky, blessed guy.
Very good. Well, Bob, in that same vein, spending nearly 5 decades in Major League Baseball, can you take us back to a moment where you realized that this wasn't just going to be a job for you, but this was going to be your life's work?
Well, the first day on the job, I felt, I want to be a lifer. And I grew up in a family with 2 older brothers. Our father was a football, basketball, baseball coach at Lakewood High School, the first suburb west of Cleveland. And so sports was in our blood. And this is, a lot of people look at me with a cross eyes when I tell them this, but like you guys, I'm sure, when you went to college, you sit around with newfound friends freshman year, getting to know one another, and we'd sit around as we pledged a fraternity, and we'd say, "What are you going to do with your life?" And somebody'd say, "I'm going to be a lawyer, or I'm going to run a business, or I'm going to be a teacher and a coach. Or, my dad's a dentist, so I'm going to be a dentist," and things of that nature. And they'd come to me and they go, "I'm a PR guy of the Cleveland Indians," and they'd look at me like I'm an idiot. And so I studied how in the early, we're going back, so this is the early to mid 70s, and there was no such thing as sports management curriculum and things of that nature. So I studied how you became a PR person in the world of the NBA and Major League Baseball and the NFL, and it was all former sports writers who late in their life became the PR person. The world of sports PR, being hired by a team, it didn't really start till the late 50s, early 60s for most teams. So relatively new career path. And as I was going through being a journalist, it really stuck to me. I was sports editor of the college newspaper, and it really, and I, my first job was assistant sports editor of a small newspaper in Northwest Ohio for 6 months before I joined the Indians. And um, I just knew, having my dad be a coach, that walking in and asking a coach, why didn't you do this, or what went wrong there, that just wasn't me. I was in locker rooms when I was 5 years old, cleaning footballs and counting the basketballs and shagging flies out in the outfield. And I wanted to be on the inside. And so when I was lucky enough to get that first job, I knew that, okay, well, this is what I wanted to do, and I'm going to work hard to see how long I can stick around. And but interesting how you used the phrase about fan. Well, I'm a bigger fan today than I was when I was 8 years old, which is not easy because, growing up in a sports household, we, kept score. We listened to every Browns game. I'm old enough to remember the Browns winning a 64 championship and having to listen on the radio because the game wasn't televised until 2 days later. And it was December 27th, and my older brother got a ticket under the Christmas tree to go to the championship game, and my other brother and I were all bummed out. And I was at the very first Cavs game ever in 1970.
Wow.
I was a JV basketball player, and the coach blew the whistle, and the varsity and JV met at half court, and the owner of the Cavs happened to live in our town, and he decided to give our club all free tickets. Think about it today, that we lined up outside the coach's office, called home and said, hey, we won't be home. We're going to the arena to watch the Cavs tonight. And all the seniors who had cars had to take all of us JVs in their cars to go downtown. No permission slip to get out of bus or any. It was so we saw the first Cavs game. So I'm entrenched, obviously, in the sports world of our town. And again, to be able to do this as long as I have, pretty fortunate.
You're a Cleveland guy through and through. But from my research, I saw you went to college at Ohio Wesleyan. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a little bit outside of Columbus, Ohio.
Yep, up in Delaware.
Yeah, not much creativity in my family. My oldest brother, Dan, went there, and who ended up being a college president at Wilmington College, Ohio Northern University for 15 years. He played quarterback and second and third for the baseball team. My brother Tony, the middle brother, a counseling psychologist in school systems and an adjunct professor at Baldwin Wallace. He played second base for Ohio Wesleyan, and I played 1 year of basketball, 2 years of baseball. And so we all went. I followed the path of my older brothers. We were all Phi Gams, Fijis. So not a whole lot of creativity when it comes to our college education.
I know a handful of Fijis from Ohio Wesleyan.
No way.
Yeah.
I love it.
Guys my age that would have graduated college around 2009, 2010, 2011.
I wonder if I ran into any of them. We just had our annual dinner
nice.
in March where the alums come back. And so I wonder if any of your class, we'll have to talk prior to next year so I can run into them.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to send
buy me, make them buy me a bourbon.
There you go.
So Bob, you've been fortunate to be in the public relations gang with the Guardians for so many years. Like, how would you say that the public relations, strategies and tactics have shifted over all those years?
Well, there's a couple things, Tyler, that has truly changed, and it's true in everybody's business, and that's the use of technology, obviously. There were two of us when I started back in 1979. I think the media relations department might be 7, 8 strong, and then interns running around. So the amount of work with social media, I think we have 3, 4 that just concentrate on the 24/7 world of social media. There used to be a time when we were content providers and creators for newspapers, radio stations, television stations. We're now content creators and providers for us. Mm-hmm. We have a larger reach through our social media platforms than a number of our media that are in Cleveland. So all that work we used to do and hand it off to somebody hoping they do a nice story, we create those stories ourselves. So to me, that's number one. So the basic philosophy and the basic element of public relations, media relations, communications is still the same. It's creating compelling content. It's just we're doing it for ourselves instead of somebody else.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, kind of in that vein, you're saying, the biggest shift has been, technology and the 24/7 news cycle and all that kind of stuff. How's that kind of like shifted with like the fans and reaching out and interacting with the fans more than just, necessarily the big PR stuff and the national news, but kind of getting in with the fans and all?
Well, the way you can interact with people, immediacy is the number one best thing about it. The worst thing about it is everybody's a critic, and that's not to say that's bad. I mean, people, you need to have everybody be able to share their opinions and thoughts. You just hope that they're based on certain facts, and when people are off doing what they do on the social media platforms. So I think the cool part is if something's happening, a rain out, a delay in the game or the start time, whatever, we're able to boom, get that out, be able to, provide the fans with information immediately. Instead of the old days, we had to rely on people. Okay, well, I've got to go to this radio station, who's the flagship station of the baseball team, to hear the news of what's coming. We can reach out directly. Again, with rainouts and exchange dates, and what do you do with your tickets, et cetera, et cetera. So that's been very helpful to be more efficient in how we operate and communicate with our fans. And I think that part is really cool. The other aspect of the job that's changed a little bit is in the old days, I hate using that phrase, but back and when I started late 70s, 80s, things were a lot less structured. We really didn't have times other than maybe a half hour before game time. Media had to leave, and we didn't have any structured time that they could arrive. And players, who wanted to talk. Those who didn't. And that's the way it was. And we didn't have, especially at Cleveland Stadium, we didn't have a lunchroom, a place where guys could go and grab a meal. We didn't. I've always said, I'm probably going to write a book after all these years. And one of the subtitles is got to be, when I started, the post-game spread was beer and cigarettes. There was no such thing as a post-game meal. There might have been some hot dogs left over from the concession stand across the concourse, some cheese and crackers. The guys hung out and had beers and talked the game and yelled at somebody who swung at a 2-0 pitch in the third inning. And, they dissected the game. and much different than today. I mean, we had 4 coaches. Now there's 15 people, men and women, on the major league coaching staff. And so the access to the players, because their day is so regimented and structured, there's times when the media, I think it's 45 to an hour 15 that they're allowed access before a game. And then the access goes to the press interview room. We didn't have anything like that. When Lenny Barker threw his perfect game on May 15th, 1981, we didn't have any place for him. He stood by his locker and talked, and with champagne going all over the place. So I think we're in a much better place on how we take care of our players, how the media gets access and ability to do their job, which is 24/7. And so it's all about being as efficient as you possibly can in managing all of those things.
Beer and cigarettes. That's hilarious.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about Lenny Barker. Used to get this little knob on his right elbow after every game he pitched. And so he had to sit in a little tub filled with ice cold water and just put his elbow in it. And he'd put 3 Bud Lights or Budweisers in the tub to stay cold. And I'd walk in the training room and I'd see, okay, he's already sipped on one. So I'd walk back to the writers and just hold up 2 fingers. He's got 2 more beers to go, because he knew that he could drink those in 20 minutes. And when that was done, he'd go out and talk to the media. So I'd walk out and say, okay, he's got 1 more beer left, wind up who you're talking to. And Lenny's going to come out and talk after another win. He was a guy that led the league in strikeouts a number of times. He never got to 20 wins, but he got to 19 a couple times. Really a stud pitcher. But he had this odd thing with his elbow. But I always he and I joke about that all the time. 1, 2.
So working with the media, I know that right now that famous Japanese players and famous Asian players will but they'll be followed around by a large contingent of Asian media. Did you encounter that with when Sin-Shu Chu, who's Korean, not Japanese, was on the team? And how did that change the job?
Well, it's changed tremendously. That you as an organization, you need to make sure you're there to assist your player at every turn. And one of them is, hopefully, be in a position if they're comfortable and capable and have the want to learn English, that you're there at every turn to assist in that cultural assimilation. That's one of my regrets, that I never learned Spanish over all my close to 50 years. It bothers me a little bit I didn't do it. I'm not sure I'm capable of learning a second language. So when people think it's easy to do, I'm not so sure when they automatically expect our players to do that. Specifically with Sin-Shu Chu, he was a hero in South Korea, but very rarely, like when we went to maybe New York or LA, the big cities, then some South Korea media would come by and he'd basically handle it himself, because it was 2 or 3 people. But I'll tell you a funny story about him, because he worked hard to learn English. And he had a game-winning homer one night, and our sideline reporter, Katie Witham at that time, was looking with our PR guy media relations director on the baseball side, Bart Swain, looking for the star of the game. And obviously it was Sinsu, but since he didn't speak English, you need an interview for TV, and we didn't have an interpreter. He whispers to Katie, "I'm ready." And it was the coolest thing that he did his post-game interview in English. And all of us felt he was more excited about the fact that he could do that post-game interview in English than he was hitting the game-winning home. And it was pretty cool.
That's a cool story.
Just so you, Tyler, on your question, we don't hire just an interpreter. You better, like Augie Rivera, who's our Hispanic, Spanish-speaking interpreter, is a coach. I mean, he throws BP, he hits fungos, he does infield practice. He's a full-fledged coach. We're not a team, middle market team in the game of baseball that can just have somebody be around to work 5 minutes as an interpreter. Players help each other in clubhouse meetings and things of those natures, and bilingual coaches to learn the game. But in those instances, we think it's more efficient if our interpreter is also a full-time employee who's a coach.
Bob, you touched on the one season you had over in Atlanta. When you moved over there, did you think that your time in Cleveland was completely done, or did you know that would be just maybe a pit stop and you would be back over in Cleveland at some point?
Yeah, no, the Ted Turner was the owner of the Braves. You had the Superstation. He owned the Hawks. Stan Kasten was the president of both the Hawks and the Braves. He's now the CEO of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I thought, and be truthfully honest, in terms of PR, just the profession, the PR job of the Atlanta Braves is probably better than the PR job of the Cleveland Guardians, just because of the magnitude of who the Atlanta Braves are and all the things that they're associated with. And when I was there for my brief period, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Ted Turner created a thing called the Goodwill Games that was going to compete with the Olympics. And so all of us, his Hawks PR people, CNN PR people, the Braves, us, our staff, we were all involved in working on the Goodwill Games. And oddly, I was not going to be at spring training for the Braves in West Palm because I was headed to Moscow to head up part of the media team. And instead, I detoured to Tucson to begin work back with the Cleveland Indians, where our spring training at that time was in Tucson, Arizona. So it was one where I thought, okay, this is a pretty good gig, and I'm really enjoying the people I'm working with. Bobby Cox is just a phenomenal man. Chuck Tanner, the manager, just one of the best human beings ever. And just the other people in the front office welcomed me as a Northerner. And it was really a place I thought I might be for a while. But when you have a chance, my wife and I, that June had our first child, our daughter. And so to be able to go back home where her mom and dad, my mom and dad, our brothers and sisters, and to just be home again, nothing beats that.
Yeah, of course.
As an Ohio kid myself that also lived in Atlanta for a period of time, I can agree with you. They do welcome the Northerners.
Sort of.
They'll point it out that you're a Northerner, but
yes, that's what I meant by the sort of. Yeah. You get to learn your nicknames Yankee real quickly.
Exactly. So being that you have been a consistent through all these multiple eras of Cleveland baseball, what do you think, from your perspective, defines the identity of the Guardians today compared to when you started with Cleveland baseball all those years ago?
Well, I will tell people that the most significant moment in our franchise history, and for those who need a teeny bit of a history lesson, professional baseball started in Cleveland in 1869, just 4 years after the end of the Civil War. And then the American League was established in 1901. And so we're a charter member of the American League. Us, Detroit, Boston, Chicago. Most people think, New York? Well, no. Not 1901, meaning charter member, meaning you were there the very first year and you're in the same city from day one. Yankees didn't come, the Highlanders didn't come till 1903. We have a rich history, and I think the most significant moment in our franchise history was moving to Jacobs Field. It allowed us to provide our fans with a major league experience, a baseball-only ballpark. It provided the wherewithal for us to compete in the big leagues, provide our players with a higher payroll and more facilities. We had one batting cage at Cleveland Stadium that was underneath the bleachers. So guys had to walk in the concourse with fans to the batting cage, as did the visiting team. And you had to figure out who's in. There were times when the visitors wanted to hit and our guys were in there and they just hit and threw to each other, And nowadays that's certainly not allowed. So that move provided us, and I'll use the word again, efficiency. It provided us a business acumen and efficiency. That's what owner Dick Jacobs brought to this franchise, a business acumen and an efficiency. And he had the power in the city of Cleveland, walk in the mayor's office and say, "You're building me a baseball-only ballpark in downtown Cleveland on the southern edge." The Cavaliers came from Richfield back to downtown, created what's called the Gateway Sports and Entertainment Complex in a condemned area of Cleveland, and turned it into one of the most vibrant areas of our downtown. And so I would say to that, it's the moving into our facility, brand new baseball-only facility. We then go on a streak of 455 straight sellouts, which was unheard of. Think about Cleveland, Ohio, not in Wrigley Field, not in Fenway Park, not at New York at Yankee Stadium, nowhere in the history of baseball did a team sell out every game from opening day to the end of the season. We did it 5 years in a row. Remarkable. Part of it was the Browns left. So there was a whole fan base going, what the hell am I supposed to do? And they ended up coming to our place because we were a championship caliber team. I always say if the Cavs were the team, being close to winning championships and star powered players, people would have gone over to the arena, but we were that team. And so they bought all our tickets, and it was one of the most remarkable periods of time. And then Colorado, in their brand new Coors Field, started an attendance streak of selling out. And Fenway, once Tito turned them around and got them a World Series, it happened in Fenway. So, but it was us, and it's all because we moved into a facility that provided us the wherewithal to have a payroll that could compete with the big boys. And for a while it did. When it's so weird to look back on those days. In the early 90s, our payroll was like $28 million. And just a few years later, it's 90 some with, you go around the diamond and it's, Sandy and back then with even Paul Sorrento or Jimmy Tomey at first, when Tomey was at third. And you got Baerga and Vizquel and Manny and Kenny and Albert and all of those guys. The Yankees had a payroll of only like 110 million. So we were pretty close. And then the advent of sports regional television came about a little bit after 2000, somewhere in there. And you have them go off to $200 million payrolls, and still those of us with less eyeballs and less ears and lower populations could only stay around the 90 to $100 million. It's weird. Our payroll has gone from 150 million in a couple of years down to 80 million. We fluctuated for a lot of reasons, the age of our team and things of that nature. But if that ballpark isn't built, we're not in Cleveland. I can tell you that. Dave Vincent, the commissioner of baseball at the time, sat in a golf cart while our guys are taking batting practice. The media are asking him, and our guys are taking batting practice, and they can hear him say, well, if this referendum doesn't pass, I don't know if there's baseball in Cleveland. And our guys are looking at him like, what are you talking about? So it was a serious issue. And if we don't build Jacobs Field, there's probably not baseball in Cleveland to this day, or a 455 straight sellout streak. And, our buildings had the most walk-off wins since 1994, since it's open. We've had the most walk-off wins of any active ballpark or current ballpark. We've been in 15, so almost every other year in the postseason, which is fifth most in baseball. So it's given us the foundation to be a pretty successful team. Unfortunately, we just haven't crossed the finish line.
Yeah, so the Guardians have 843 wins over the past 10 years. Only the Dodgers, Yankees, and Astros have more in that time. Why do you think that Cleveland doesn't get the same shine that a team like the Rays or the Brewers do as being, a small market success?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I'll even take it one step further, Tyler, because it's a better stat for us. Go back to 13 years, not just 10. Go 13 years, which I think is more indicative because the longer you go through something, 13 years in professional baseball is a long time. The last 13 years, only the Dodgers and Yankees have more wins than us. We're third most wins in all of baseball. Yankees only have 27 more wins than us in the last 13 years. The easy math, it's about 2 a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've spent $2 billion more on players than we have in the last 13 years. That's a fact.
That's a very interesting stat.
So we believe it's, again, the word efficiency. We spend all our money on player development. We're one of the top spenders in the world of analytics and state-of-the-art technology, and the number of people who are on our staff as coaches. We go after things in depth. Our media like to say that we overthink everything. Our baseball operations team overthinks, but we look at it as we're an incredibly efficient and effectively run team based in player development. We love our guys. I mean, we scout them, we draft them, we develop them. And so then what do? You got to play them. And it's pretty simple in the game of all games, but in our sport. How do you know if a kid's going to be an impact player at the big leagues if you don't play him? So you got to live with the ups and downs of a young athlete. Why we don't get as much love, I don't know. we should, because it's not unique to us that we couldn't give Lindor $33 million a year. I mean, Tampa doesn't do it. All of us 15, 16 middle market teams, the Orioles, the Kansas Cities, the rest of us, we could give a guy that much, but we wouldn't have a team around him to be any good.
Right.
And so I just don't know. I think there's enough people in the world of baseball that understands how good we are, because if you looked around the league, there's a whole lot of general managers who started as interns at our place.
Well, believe me, Josh is a Tigers fan. I'm a Twins fan. So we're well aware of the thorn in our sides that Cleveland's been over the years.
All too aware. So if you guys, want to take a break for a few years, the 13 years has just been a lot and you need to take a few years off, like that's okay.
Yeah, well, our owner gets a lot of grief, especially for not signing big-time free agents, and we were able to, have personal heart-to-heart conversations with Jose Ramirez for him to stay with us. He signed with us as a kid at 16 years old, and our owner went to him and said, and kudos to his agent for allowing the owner to have conversations with him present, and Chris Antonetti, our president of baseball operations, where he said, look, I have to apologize that I'm not able to pay you what you deserve. Your position in this game is one of the best players in Major League Baseball. You've seen it. We're just unable. We could give you that, but you'd play on a team that was no good. And I hope we can find a number that's respectful to you, but also respectful to us, that we can continue to build a team around you that has a chance to win the division and then play in October. And Jose said, we'll find a number. And that's rare. So when he's done with this contract, he'll be 40. So he'll have worn our uniforms from the age of 16 to the age of 40. That's unheard of in professional sports these days. And he's a guy that, and his family, his wife and kids, I mean, they were all born when he was a member of our franchise, and he got in a teeny bit of trouble when he said he's 50% Cleveland, 50% Dominican. Got a little bit of trouble in the Dominican for that statement. But, I do wish we'd get a little bit, but more love. But I think it also, we just haven't crossed the finish line to win that elusive World Series. But we give ourselves a chance to get to October baseball pretty regularly, and I think that's what our fans like about us.
Okay, so the year's 2024. The Guardians are unveiling the Jose Ramirez statue after a first talented introduction into the Hall of Fame. What pose is being used for the Jose Ramirez statue, and who all do you think is in attendance from the? I don't think it's going to be knocking out Tim Anderson. Who do you think's in attendance from the all of his teammates and members of the Guardians franchise?
Well, I think as many of the players who played with him will be there. I think he'll be the most senior tenured guy in uniform, even over a guy by the name of Mel Harder. Sandy Alomar's now at 26 or 7 years in our uniform as a player and a coach. He will have done it all as a player. And I firmly believe that they'll all be there. My hope is Mr. Tom Hamilton, Hall of Fame broadcaster, will be there to MC the ceremonies. That's first in my mind, to make it an incredibly special day. Now, the cool question that you asked, I've never been asked that question about what's the pose. Zach Meisel of the Athletic will probably say, well, it's got to be some way the sculptor has to do a unique way that his helmet's flying off as he's sprinting around.
Yeah.
So that would be one. I don't know. There's this is where artists are just phenomenal. Our guy didn't do Bob Feller. We had a different person do that as we opened our ballpark, but the same guy from my town, Lakewood, Ohio, and a Lakewood High grad, David Deming, has done Jim Thome and Lou Boudreau and Larry Doby's statues, and they're all different, and they all are tell a great story. So how do you tell the story of such an instinctive, fun-loving, passionate guy that has his uni dirty every day as a superstar? So it's going to be interesting. But the hat flying off, because you guys probably don't know, but Meisel does a helmet count in his store. That by June or whatever, we're up to 20. Where on that Tripoli hit, he lost his helmet. So
yeah, that would be a hard one to put together, but I think that is good because you can't really do the batting stance because what side are you doing it from?
Right. Yeah.
So. Yeah, no, probably running around the bases with the helmet down at his feet is probably the best that he can get.
It's funny, David Deming, another history lesson for those listening and you guys. Superman was created in Cleveland. The two guys that wrote and illustrated the comic book Superman grew up in Cleveland, and David Deming did the statue of Superman that's downtown Cleveland, and he'd call me up and we'd go have lunch, and then I'd go to the studio, and all of a sudden I said, "You're doing Superman?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, him flying, that's got to be Jose Ramirez, some way, shape, or form. Think about that. So we'll see what ends up flying into second base or just sprinting. How do you get, because he's also done a guy named Harrison Dillard, who's from Cleveland, with Jesse Owens. Both the same high school, both dominated the track and field world from 1936 through the late 40s, and Olympics gold medal winners. And he's done their statues and the look and feel of a sprinter. It'll be interesting. We'll have to have you there, Tyler, when that happens, because it will happen. Yeah,
I'd love to. Even though he is a killer of the division, he is still one of my favorite players to watch.
Yeah,
and
he's remarkable.
He'll definitely go down in history as being probably top 3 third baseman of all time.
Well, when think about it, he just stole his 300th bag. And when he gets to 300 homers, he will be only the 9th player in the history of baseball to have 300 homers and 300 stolen bases. That's pretty cool for a kid for a guy that's 5'10", 190. He's not Aaron Judge or Shohei or Mike Schmidt or Barry Bonds, bigger guys.
Yeah.
He's a smaller guy. Who takes care of himself and has just a remarkable passion.
We were actually talking about him on one of our live shows recently, where I think we all agreed that he's probably the superstar that gets the least coverage and probably the least respect around the game still to this day.
Yeah, I would say, and again, I think it's a product of Cleveland, Ohio, not a media center. When he goes into New York or LA, there'll be a couple stories, and the home team television will do a pregame piece on him, kind of thing, and
right.
So he'll get his obligatory, love fest for a day, but then they'll off doing the major market people. So he's something special.
We'd all love to be there at the induction ceremony. So start looking at flights now.
Yeah. Well, he's going to end up being number one across the board in most every category in our offensive history. Maybe not stolen bases. He still has 150 maybe to catch Kenny Lofton. He's number 2. I don't know if anybody will catch Kenny Lofton, literally and figuratively. So if you're number one, he's already number one in games played, already number one in total bases, number 2 in homers, number 2 in ribbies, number 2 in doubles. Although Earl Averill, old Hall of Famer, might be a little tough to get because Earl Averill still is the number 1 doubles champ in the history of baseball. And so that gets you a statue, it gets you a retired uniform number, and it gets you a place in Cooperstown. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. So sticking kind of with the modern guys and stuff, we had a big one just come up for you with Travis Bazana. So with a star prospect like that coming into the organization that has a lot of attention as a top 10 nationally rated prospect making their debut, how do you guys typically balance the excitement around a young star while also protecting them from the pressure that comes with it, to kind of like you said, you don't know what you got if you don't play the guys, and you got to stick with them through the ups and downs. How do you balance from a PR standpoint of excitement while also trying to keep all of that pressure of having to succeed immediately off of them?
Well, the one thing that Travis brought to us, we now have 2 walk-up songs that our fans are singing along to. Chase the Lauder's tune. He grew up in West Virginia, so John Denver's tune. So our fans, nowadays, because of the pitch clock, the walk-up songs are abbreviated. But our fans continue to sing along through the first couple pitches of his at bat. And now the same thing, the men at work down under with our guy from Australia. We have conversations, I'll tell you, we have conversations with the baseball operations guy as the business side wants to promote, the highly touted prospect, while the baseball side wants to temper that and just let the kid slide into his big league life with a little less attention in terms of him having to be in front of the media and doing this live shot, go and do that, go do this. So you strike a balance where you want to make sure. And again, that's where creating compelling content for yourself that you can send out that other media can then use helps us give a little insulation to a young man as he's got nervous knots in his stomach, finally reaching the pinnacle of what he wanted to do, that dream. The cool thing about our guys, and I think most teams are like this now, that we knew we were going to bring him up, but we needed to get his mom and dad and siblings and whomever else wanted to come from Australia to see his big league debut in Cleveland. And so, 16-hour flight or whatever it is, we needed to get them a few days notice. And so that's not easy. The kid's like, I'm going up, but I'm not going up for another day or so. Well, we want your mom and dad to be there. We don't want to bring you up and then not play you.
Right.
That's the cool thing about Stephen Vogt. When a kid gets brought up from the minors, he's like, hey, he's one of the 26. He's in the lineup. It's time for him. I'm not going to sit him for 5 days and let him rot and, figure out when he's going to get a pinch hit in the 8th inning and he hadn't played for 3-4 days. Right. So we're really good at alerting the player and then having the player make sure they can alert their family to get there. And this one was a little extra special for that. So, but this stage is not anything difficult for that kid. Do
you have a coach on staff that can help translate from the Australian?
I think it's one of those cool things when you have those different accents running around your clubhouse. It just there's something about it because he's now, is it the 6th different country represented in our clubhouse?
Wow.
So if you think about that, you deal with food, you deal with music, you deal with fashion, culture. And I'm one who says, hey, kids born in California are a whole lot different than kids born in Texas, born in Florida. So you've got that mix of just Americans in your clubhouse. So that, again, the different cultures. And there's something really fun about that.
Very cool. Well, Bob, what do you say we move into some rapid fire questions?
Sure.
All right. So first one, we always want to ask people this, and we get different answers, but have you ever attempted or have any desire to attempt the 999 challenge?
I don't even know what that is.
It's 9 beers, 9 hot dogs in 9 innings.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I've got buddies who have done that because we have a special mustard in Cleveland, ballpark mustard. And I've got friends, childhood friends who moved away, and they come back and they try to challenge themselves. And there's no way in hell I could do that. So the rapid fire answer is no.
Fair enough. Favorite road stadium that you get to go to?
Any of them that's walkable from the hotel. I'm a big fan of PNC. I love sitting behind home plate. Their view out their center field area is just phenomenal. Camden, all the ones that are built just like ours. So it's always tough to pick one over, Fenway, Wrigley, those. But if I had to pick one right now, it's PNC.
PNC is a good choice. We're all fans of that, I think.
Yeah.
Favorite drink?
I'm a bourbon guy. I'm a Angel's Envy Triple Oak guy.
We were just in that area not too long ago. We visited Angel's Envy.
Love it. Yeah, I'm a Woodford Reserve Double Oak guy.
We went there.
I drink most bourbons, but if I had, and I drink it neat.
Neat.
Yeah.
Who knows? That's neat, but like I was surprised.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah. I'll drink an old fashioned now and then, but
yeah,
I like my bourbon. Just
who knows more about
people? I see people put Coca-Cola or something in a bourbon. I was like, what the hell are you thinking?
Who knows more about Pokemon, Stephen Kwan or your grandkids?
Oh my goodness! I have one that's 4, and the other 2 girls, grandson 4, and 2 granddaughters 2, and one more boy on the way in late June. He's not quite sure of Pokemon. He's a Spider-Man guy, and so Kwani for sure.
Kwan, yeah.
And if you had Mario Kart, Jose Ramirez is the Mario Kart champion of the world.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
A rookie walks into our clubhouse and he'll make them sit down and play him for $100, and they know they're going to lose, but they can't say no to Jose, and he'll be laughing the whole time as he's kicking their butt, take their $100 from them.
The next race delay, let Jose Ramirez play people the stands on the big jumbotron.
Great. Yeah, we've talked about that. Yeah. We've talked, how do we do that to raise money for Cleveland Guardians charities? Because people would love that.
We would participate. I can tell you that. I love Mario Kart.
Yeah, I'd fly in just to play with Jose.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. He's the man. Albert Bell was the man on the ping pong table. And Oral Hershiser is about the only one who would challenge him.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and Hosey's the Mario guy.
All right, favorite band, Bob.
Well, boy, favorite band. Buffett. I'm a Buffett guy. Again, old timer. I'm a Creedence Clearwater Revival guy. James Taylor.
I love James.
But
Taylor.
I'd say rapid fire Buffett. probably
I
seen
think my wife
20
would say the
times.
same thing. So
Yeah.
it's not just a demographic thing; it's all generations.
Oh yeah, yeah. Missed that guy terribly. Got to meet him a few times in my life, and
Oh, no kidding.
so, well, quick story on that. Greg Nettles, when I was with Atlanta, that team that year, 1987, Ken Griffey Sr., Greg Nettles. It had some Ted Simmons, had some real veteran dudes, great guys. And Nettles comes up to me in spring training. He goes, "Hey, I hope you don't mind, but I never get a phone in the apartment where I rent during the summer. And I always give people your name and number, your office number, to call and leave messages. And if you don't mind, you can just throw them in my locker, and I'll use the phone in the locker room, where I call my wife and check in, or in the hotel on the road kind of thing." And I said, "Oh, I'd be happy to." So one day it was Buffett calling, looking for him. And I said, "Well, you know the routine, I'm sure." He goes, "I know that asshole won't get a phone in the home city that he lives. So I'm sorry to bother you." And I said, "Well, you and I met briefly, blah, 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 in Cleveland. I took the whole Coral Reefer band and got you 30 box seats at a Yankee doubleheader at Cleveland Stadium." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, and you gave us those plastic helmets. That was the giveaway." I said, "Yeah, we took care of you. And you did a concert at Jacobs Field, and I was in the locker room for 2 minutes to say hello." And so I got to know him a little bit, and just strengthened my wife and I. I think we've seen him 35, 40 times maybe. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
This is going to be my mother-in-law's favorite part of the interview. Loves Jimmy Buffett.
Pardon me? Oh, the Jimmy Buffett part? Yeah. Yeah.
She's got to listen to.
She's probably close to my age, and so yeah, we all grew up with him.
She's got to listen to the whole interview to get to that story, though. So it's good. It's at the end.
Hope we don't put her to sleep.
No, never. Well, Bob, we can't thank you enough for this. This has been incredible. We're so appreciative of your time. Hopefully we can have you back on maybe a little bit later in the season when we get closer to playoff time. We'll see where Cleveland sits, and we'll see if Josh and Tyler are even more mad at the Guardians.
Yeah. Well, we expected it to be obviously a tough race with the Tigers, and we weren't quite sure what Minnesota was. Their GM that was resigned or let go or whatever was one of our guys, Derek, great dude, Derek Falvey. So thinking Kansas City and us in Detroit, we're going to fight it through. Then all of a sudden you see the White Sox with their new home run hitter really putting some wins on the board, which is pretty wild. So I think our division, I think it's only separated by, we're in first place, but we're separated by only 3 games or 4 from top to bottom or something. So it should be a real fun summer fighting for the division. I know people say you should make the mantra, our goal is to win the World Series. Well, in effect, your goal is to win your division.
Yep.
When you do that, you're in October. Yep. And then once October hits, who knows? You got to have a ball land on the foul line for a double, in the 8th inning to score a couple runs and get health, be lucky that you're healthy, especially your pitching. And like our last trip, a couple of years ago, we should have beat the Yankees. It just drives us crazy. That we should have beat those boys in the ALCS. But again, we put ourselves in a chance to do it every year, and we think that's all a middle market team could do to fight for that for their fans, is to give them a legitimate hope that you're good enough to get to October. But this has been a lot of fun, gentlemen. I would love to do it again.
Wonderful.
Well, thanks for your time, Bob.
Yes, thank you very much.
Take care, gentlemen. Go Guardians.
Bye, Bob.
We'll see ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.